Well, it's been a while since we had a good old natter, and I hope you are well wherever you are in the world. Now, today is, I do believe, hold on. Hey Siri, what's the date?
It's Sunday, the 14th of January, 2024.
Okay, it's Sunday, the 14th of January, 2024. A warm welcome to the channel. Subscribe, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. And this is sort of like a non-edited video, hence this is the coffee chat in my coffee chat corner. Yeah. Yesterday it was the Taiwanese elections in Asia, and it brought up the issue once again. Taiwan a country, Taiwan a sovereign state or a province of China, etc. All that kind of malarkey. And it's been going on since near enough 1949, when China became the People's Republic of China and not the Republic of China. And the Republic of China basically moved or fled to Taiwan because of the civil war, unfortunately, which they lost. Now, if you go to Taiwan, people will say, is it a country? If you ask them, is it a country? They would say, yes, we're Taiwanese. We have a constitution. We have democracy. We have general elections. We have our own passport, etc., etc. There's so many controversial issues, and I don't want to get into that. But it's come up in the headlines once again because of the general election in Taiwan, that should it maintain the status quo of how it is now, is China going to invade so it can be one China once again? But there was actually one person in America. Now, this person is very, very pro-China, and he lives in America or Canada, and he is very sort of anti-West, and you would say do all the negative about the West and all the positive about China. He's an ex-PGA golfer. He went to China years ago. Now he's moved back to America with his family, etc. And he suddenly changed from a pro golfer to a political geo-analyst. I don't know if you need to go to university or not, but regardless of that fact, he actually came up with one video of this gentleman from Singapore giving a great solution, and possibly for the very first time, I actually agree with him, is that it shouldn't be independent. It shouldn't be one China. It should be the Commonwealth of China. In other words, two countries, two governments in one Commonwealth. Now, way back, England or the United Kingdom used to control the world. This tiny, tiny country used to control the world, basically because it had the best navy in the world. And they had Hong Kong, they had India, Australia, New Zealand, parts of the Caribbean, parts of America. In fact, I think there's still 19 states in the USA which are still the Commonwealth of the United Kingdom. Then it was all sort of handed back to the countries, that the original, and everything is quite peaceful, and you could say all good friends. Singapore is the Commonwealth of United Kingdom, so is Malaysia the Commonwealth, I do believe. So it used to be called the Empire, then it got changed to the Commonwealth. They don't actually have a king or queen. The king now of England, I was thinking of good old Elizabeth. The Queen of England or the King of England or whoever it is the royalty, but it has a prime minister, or it would have a president who would run it, basically. And all seem to be happy. So with that solution, Beijing could not interfere with Taiwan, and Taiwan could not interfere with Beijing. It would be run as two separate countries, but under the Commonwealth. Then I started thinking a little bit more with this. So if you have the Commonwealth of the United Kingdom, who is the actual boss? Well, the Queen, or the King, I'm going back in time. The King of England, he's the representative of it. He doesn't actually do anything, but he is the sort of like the sovereign person there. So if it came to the a good idea, by actually not by a Chinese person, by a Singaporean person, for it to be a Commonwealth, who would be the boss? And that's sort of my question. Maybe there would be no boss, and that could work, and they could have regular meetings of, let's say, Beijing and Taipei, of what's happening, but Beijing can't dictate what will happen in Taipei. They would just have meetings, and it may be two separate things, but it would benefit. Yeah, and I would say that most people would be happy with this Commonwealth rather than anything else. They are both Chinese. They are Republic of China and the People's Republic of China. One is democratic and one is communist. As simple as that. So what do you think? Would it work? Would it solve the argument? So in other words, what would happen is life would just continue exactly the same. Chinese people can go to Taiwan. Taiwan people can go to China. They wouldn't need a visa, but they would need a passport. For example, if I went to Hong Kong before, even though it's British, I would still need a passport. If I wanted to go to Gibraltar from England, I would still need a passport to get there. But it is British. That's sort of like something different, but it's also the same, just to make things really confusing. I think life would actually be better in a way that they could trade. Yeah? So Taiwan could actually sell their chips to China, yeah? As Taiwan is the world leading manufacturer of semiconductors, chips, etc. I'm not too sure. If you have your phone in front of you, you could say some of the chips inside there, yeah, I would say were made in Taiwan or assembled or whatever with that. And I think that's a really good, peaceful solution. You would have to iron out some creases, but it would just be the same and possibly even better related to trade and also relationships. So this conflict, this verbal conflict, which has been going on since 1949 to now, 2024, would eventually come to a peaceful end. Does that make sense for you? I think it's time for my coffee. Today we have sort of a Minnie Mouse. Actually, I stole this from my lovely partner, Sophie. This is one of her Christmas presents. But making coffee, you just grab the nearest mug to that. So what do you think? Do you think Beijing would honor the agreement? Well, they don't have any power in Taipei, and they still wouldn't have any power. And it would just be the name. Yeah? And then trade could be free trade once again, you could say. And it would be up to Taiwan, not America, but Taiwan to say, okay, we can sell chips to China, and then they can continue making their mobile phones, etc., and their computers, which they sell basically to the rest of the world, especially for the low-end products. There was a video that I did make saying called Made in China versus Made in China. iPhones are not made in China, they are assembled in China. You may have a computer, maybe it's Dell or HP, or even Apple. They are not made in China, they're assembled in China, with the American company making sure it's the high quality. Made in China means it's a company, a Chinese company that produce Chinese products which they sell. Now, there are some really good companies which I have mentioned before, and I do have some of them. One is my little camera that I have. This is a Chinese product, and it was recommended, and it's really, really good. You know that I go on about the electric cars and the EV evangelists and the BYD. Maybe they are very good, but I would just love to see a video, which I haven't found yet, of someone who's owned a BYD for maybe 5 years and go through absolutely everything. Don't go through the propaganda of saying it's brilliant, excellent, fantastic. I'm sure there have been some glitches. Now, hopefully this year, and I really say hopefully, I do want to buy a car. And with that, I will probably start videoing about this car. I know exactly the model I want. It's just that I'm waiting for something before I can continue, and I hope it does happen this year. But I know it's not going to be perfect. But I do want the reliability and I do want the quality. And I wouldn't even consider looking at a Chinese car made in China because they don't have that respect yet. They don't have that kind of years of service, and it only takes time. But China's products, I think what you have to do is not say it's made in China, here's the product, and underneath it could be say made in China, but if you love it, you just say, oh, I just got this camera from Insta, it's really good. And the drones, again, DJI, something like that, they're a Chinese product, but it's known around the world for reliability. So it does exist. It's just a bad reputation that they got to get rid of. I'm repeating myself from constant videos. Japan had exactly the same problem with Toyota. You could say South Korea still does a little bit have the problems with a car manufacturer called Kia. It's just, or even Eastern European cars, the Skoda. If you remember how they looked before, and the Lada. Oh, do you remember the Lada? Oh my God. But they have got a lot better, and it's only over time. Yeah, it's just time will tell. Give it another 20 years, you will see a lot more Chinese cars on the road, and you won't really think of them as Chinese, you will think of them as a brand. When you think of Toyota, you just think it's Toyota and it's fine, it has reliability. But at the beginning, when they did export to the UK and to America, people laughed at them. It was sort of like ill-advised not to buy it. It's the same with the Chinese cars, again, BYD. There are others like Great Wall Cars or Geely, which is partly owned now by Volvo, I do believe, a Swedish company. So what do you think? Going back to the actual title of this, the Commonwealth of China, which involves the People's Republic of China, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, but they are ruled individually, and they are two separate countries. What do you think? It feels like a great start for a solution to it. And if Beijing agree to it, and the ruling Democratic Party in Taiwan, whoever it may be, agree to it, then all these tensions are going to disappear. And it's just the trade as well. It's just going to make, I think it's going to make life a lot better. You had Brexit way back in 2016 when the United Kingdom decided to separate from Brexit or from the European Union. Was it a big mistake? Personally, I would say yes, because over years it seemed to got worse and worse and worse. Why did it happen? Why did the people of the Great Britain vote for Brexit? I would say the main reason is the problems they had with immigration. And that was one way possibly they were thinking to solve it. It wasn't mentioned out loud, but it was sort of like that. So English people still can go to France on holiday, but if they need to work, then they need a certain visa, etc. Before the whole European Union, you could basically work where you wanted to, and you would pay the tax of that country, and you just didn't need any paperwork. It was so convenient for a lot of people. But now, because the powers to be Brexit, I didn't vote, and I do remember waking up on the morning when the results were coming in, and I was actually shocked that they said, yes, Brexit has come through. And I went, really? And 2016 was a year of changes. When it was the presidential election, and it was versus Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. To be really honest with you, I thought Trump didn't have a chance in hell. But that's just my own opinion. You can hate me or love me for it. And I think it would just be like the normal thing that they would vote for the normal presidency. So everything would be normal. And in your life, you don't want big changes. I made my life here in Cambodia. I have this beautiful house. I have a great partner. I have motorbikes. I have 2 pussycats. I don't want the powers to be to suddenly change something which I'm so used to. In Malaysia, they actually did this 3 or 4 years ago. And lots of people who did own houses and lived in Malaysia for years and they retired, suddenly you had to have something like $1 million in your bank account. Where the hell am I going to get $1 million from? It's definitely not going to be YouTube. And that's for a fact. So change for the positive with the two Chinas, so to speak, I think is a win-win, and both parties would agree to it. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be start of a better solution rather than the status quo we live in now, rather than the people of China who think Taiwan is theirs, while the people in Taiwan think their country is theirs. It's going to be a win-win situation for everyone. The Commonwealth of China, which I would say would just include 4 different parts like Hong Kong, Taipei, Macau and mainland China, etc., etc. I think that will make things peaceful for a while. As long as Beijing doesn't interfere and make a promise, which they're very good at doing, and then just going back on their promise, which they're also very good at doing, would be there. But if it's monitored and you could say have a international community viewing over this, not just America, but also countries, I don't know, like South Korea, that they could monitor to make sure everything is fair and square. Nothing is manipulated, nothing is mangled. And how it should be, is like Brexit in the UK. It should be on a vote, a democratic vote. And the people in China, possibly they could vote. Shall we make our countries put together, or these areas of the world put together and called a Commonwealth? And how the people would benefit is another place to go on holiday, to explore the beautiful island or the beautiful country of Taipei, and for the Taiwanese people to go to China without being ridiculed or say, oh, you're from Taiwan, and get into that kind of argument. They do go to China. I think, I'm not too sure about the visa status, but they would sort of like just keep quiet and just not integrate, and I think Chinese people would be fine with that. It's just the powers to be. It's just like Beijing being a little bit stubborn and stupid and proud and really haven't caught on to the 21st century yet, while Taipei is a very modern, lovely, beautiful city with great food. But the thing is, the cost of living in Taipei, the average salary is 56,000 American dollars per year, which you could say is pretty average around the world. In China, the average with the 1.4 billion people is 16,000. So would it be that the Chinese people could work there from China? I think the answer, because you're going to have two countries, is going to have the certain visa requirements. I can't go just to Taipei and work there. I would need some kind of visa related to my work that I would do there, etc. So there'll be lots to figure out, but I would say that is the best solution. And here's the crazy thing. I actually got this from a pro-China Western YouTuber who showed the Singaporean guy who came up with the solution. And it is sort of like, I wouldn't have thought of it in a million years. And I have been, being British, part of a Commonwealth for, well, ever since I was born, and longer than that. Again, that used to be the Empire of Great Britain, but I think the name changed in the 1950s, something like that. I'm not too sure. Again, your comments below would be really nice. I'm going to see if anyone's got to the end by a rainbow. And if you want to donate to this channel to feed my pussycats, then that links are in the description below, basically via Super Chat. And you can do it on Patreon, and you can become a member of this channel as well. This is a unedited video. I'm just doing this live in front of the camera with a cup of coffee in my small little studio here in Siem Reap, Cambodia. Is there anything else? I don't think so, but I think it's a good start for these two countries to get along with each other and just move on from the past and all these war of words. My name is James. This is the James N. Cooper Show. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye for now. Cheers.